Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is The Wise Ones. I'm so excited about this. We were doing this show last year, but we've got a brand new co-host and a different area of focus. So glad that you're here with us today. My co-host and friend is also my book coach. He is a best-selling author. He's a longevity expert, and he is a book coach and publisher, and he's so much more. And we're going to find out all about him today. Let's welcome Red.o'Laughlin to the program. Hi, Red.
Howdy, Dr. Jacalyn. Just another
nice to see you're on
way
the bridge
too. A new way to open the world, 2022.
Absolutely. It's exciting to work with you in a new capacity because we've been working together for over a year in getting a book published and a second one coming and a third. And now we're venturing into co-hosting together.
Yes, we are. Looking very, very forward to it.
I'm as well. And I want to give a shout out to the lovely Daphne DeLucci for creating these beautiful graphics that you see as backgrounds for all of our shows. And also for our new website, USA Global TV. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, just go over to usaglobaltv.com, book your session. And Red and I will be very happy to help you share your story.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, actually. The Wise Ones last year was predicated on wisdom from a lot of different sources. I was privileged to be one of the interviewees, I guess you could call it, on that particular show with Fred and you. But I'm thinking, we're so close to being in post-pandemic that the wisdom that we've acquired through our lives, we've gotten through this I'm going to call it a temporary stoppage in our time life continuum. It's that perturbation in time where we're really trying to get through this pandemic and into our real live world again. And so most of the stuff I want to focus on is in that looking toward the post-pandemic world. How can we be better? But one of the things I thought about on this particular show is you've been on almost 1,000 shows or something like that, it seems like.
More than that,
I know a lot. But who knows the real Dr. Jacalyn? I mean, I do, because I see you almost every single week, and we have conversations that go all over the place. But Dr. Jacalyn, what is your doctorate in? And I know you had to travel a long distance to get it, but let me just ask you a few questions up front to see what the people don't know about Dr. Jacalyn today.
Oh, you're going to turn the microphone on me, huh?
I am.
Well, I think it's only fair that I turn it on you then afterwards.
Absolutely. More than happy to.
All right. I'm going to switch you over. You can be in charge. There you go.
Okay, Dr. Jacalyn, tell me, lead me through your academic, from your bachelor's to your master's to your doctorate, and why you had to travel such long distances to really earn that doctorate degree.
Wow, thank you. Great question. So I started out at University of Delaware, believe it or not. I went there for 2 years and to get my bachelor's degree. And I went there for the craziest reasons when I tell you. I was going on a tour and they took me into this dorm. I think it was Russell B. That just pops into my head, but I don't even know if that's right. And there was a grand piano, a Steinway with a chandelier and an oriental rug. And I played the piano and I thought, wow, I could see myself hanging out here. So that was the reason I actually picked that school, which is crazy. Anyway, went there for 2 years, wasn't really happy there. And I ended up going to Penn State because my sister was there, which was kind of cool. So graduated from Penn State with a bachelor's degree in finance. And then I went to Penn State for my graduate degree. And I actually was the first group to go through the campus that we were in, which is in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And it was quite an amazing experience because at the time I was living in New Jersey. I was working full time. So I had to drive to Pennsylvania to work. And then I had to drive even further to go to school. And then on the off nights I wasn't going to school, I was working part time at, I think it was Macy's or Bloomingdale's, I forget which one. So it was really an amazing experience, people I met. And then I decided to get my doctorate. And it's actually an interesting story to me, at least, but I decided to do it for my doctor because I was in this totally dysfunctional relationship with a man and he never had time to see me. And so I thought, well, I have a full-time job. I have a part-time job. What else can I do to keep myself busy so I don't have to break up with him, which is really ridiculous. So I applied to go for my doctorate at University of Phoenix. And I picked that specifically because at the time it had really good reviews and the program was online. And so it was an asynchronous environment, meaning that you could post your information when it worked for you, as long as it was done by the time frame that was requested. So it was a 7-year journey, I think. And my doctorate is in business administration. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, it does. Now we know why the doctor isn't Dr. Jacalyn. And I don't know that
Exactly.
we ever really talked about that a whole lot before.
I
Yeah.
don't think we did actually. And
Yeah.
in fact, when I got my degree in the corporate world where I was working, I actually would work all day. We traveled all around the world for programs that I sold to my clients. And then many times in hotel rooms when I was on the road, I had to go after entertaining the clients and I had to go to my room and do all of my homework and then work on my dissertation. And so I really didn't have a social life for a long time and got the degree. And I was told by my employer that I was either an academic or I was a salesperson, and that nobody was going to call me Dr. Kerbeck. And that was kind of wow. So it wasn't until I started doing this that actually anyone called me doctor.
But your dissertation also took a few iterations, didn't it?
I had to rewrite it 181 times. And it's because the gentleman I had as my mentor was in the military, previous military, and he didn't want to work with me because he said I would be too weak and I wouldn't be able to withstand the feedback he would give me. So of course I had to have him because I love a good challenge. And so he made me rewrite it over and over and over again. And now looking back on it, I can really appreciate that.
And so now people call you doctor. You have a show that literally calls you doctor. And now we have the background story, the rest of the story actually, about what is behind the doctor and Dr. Jacalyn. I think that's pretty important. Your
Well,
turn to
thank
ask
you,
a
Ren.
question. Go ahead and
You know
ask
what?
me a question.
I will. I really appreciate you bringing that to light. So as you mentioned, you and I have been working together for a long time, and we've really made some cool things happen. And as many times as I've interviewed you or you've been on our various programs, there's a lot that I don't know about you. So what do we know about you from other shows? We know that you're one of 9 children, I believe, right?
The
And I think
oldest.
the oldest, and 8 out of 9 were redheads, which it's funny. When I first met you, I asked you, why were you called red? And you said, oh, I had red hair. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. But we also know that you write pretty much every day, except for a period of time when you weren't feeling well, but you still got out there. And you love to fast, and you really believe that instead of focusing on symptoms, you have to actually focus on what's the core issue that's going on, because otherwise it's just sort of putting band-aids on things. We know that you were a veteran, you were in the military, and we know that you've been married for a very long time, I think 50 plus years.
53 years last year.
53 years, it's huge. And we also know that you're very athletic. So tell us something that we don't know about you. How about the fact that you were a teacher?
I taught statistics, believe it or not, at night school for about 3 years. I'd already gotten my first degree. I was working on something else. And then my mentor at that time says, are you interested in teaching some of this stuff? I said, yeah, why not? And so he says, what about this course? I said, yeah, I can handle that one. He says, what about this one over here? Yeah, I can do that one too. And so I taught for about 3 years. And interestingly enough, that experience came back in spades and helped me so much. I was actually working on a doctorate in international business at the University of Houston. And I went in, I talked to the stat professor, and I got 9 hours of stat at the doctoral level waived with a 15-minute conversation.
Woo! That is impressive.
So I'm sure you probably had maybe one class or so in stat across the academic world that you've had. So when you get 9 hours waived on a doctoral degree in a subject such as statistics, that to me was a major highlight in my world, because okay, that's something I don't have to take all over again. I used to teach this stuff. And I did well enough in a 15-minute interview. He said, okay, give me your paperwork. He signed it, 9 hours. Boom.
That is a major accomplishment, Red. And you know what? When it comes to statistics, I still have nightmares because I was never a fan of statistics or chemistry. And I know that you also have a background in chemistry, right?
My first love was chemistry, long before I actually long before I started dating girls back at sophomore in high school. Uh, I took the course and I loved it. I made my mind, boom, I'm gonna major in chemistry. I did. Uh, I ended up having actually three explosions along the way in the chemistry labs. I ended up spending about 5 days in the hospital with nitric acid burns on both eyes. Uh, my
Wow.
wife at that time was my girlfriend, and only family could come in. So my mom and dad would bring her as if she was one of my sisters. So he says, "Hey, your sister, you can't hug him too much." Uh, and so, anyway, it's just one of those things. And since that last explosion, my curiosity has really just fallen, because a lot of things that I did were my own fault. But regardless, it's one of those life experiences that you learn from, and I did after a while. It took 3 times, but I did learn. And but I love chemistry, and that's what I do nowadays. I look at what happens in the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. If you have this and this is going to happen. But if you have this one, it's going to stop it. Well, how do you get that one? Well, how do you make? So it's just the how and the why is really what interests me more so than anything else. I had a chance at one of my companies, Halliburton, to delve into why things failed, and it's called Taproot. And you usually go down about 7 levels. Well, why did that fail? Well, okay. Well, why did that? And okay, we understand. Okay, now why? And so you keep going answering the questions why. And I became the go-to person, regardless of where it was in the world, to find out why this thing happened. And whether it happened to do with something in Bangkok or something over in Nigeria, I was involved with a lot of different whys to solve. And many times culturally, people don't want to tell you exactly why something happened. They want to protect their their situation, whatever. And you kind of have to figure out what's a better way to ask this question. So the same thing with the body. If you know what's going on, why not take advantage? Okay, I need to stop this one. Let's stop it. I need to get this one going. Let's crank that one up. But if we don't know what we're doing, we may be doing both and then not making any progress at all.
I've certainly learned so much from you, even as simple as putting your food on a smaller plate, like a side dish plate that's what you put your entree on so that you don't overeat, right? These are just
Yeah,
things
it's
that
a
are
it's a little tip. I mean, okay, you want to cut back on something, but if you have a big plate, you're going to fill it up because that's the habit. But if you have a smaller plate, salad plate, and that's all you can put on that plate for that meal, then you have to kind of, okay, how much do I really need? And then over time, 30 days, 40 days, whatever, then you're used to having that smaller plate. You're used to not going back for seconds. And so it takes a little bit of time, generally about a month, to establish a new habit. And so if we're coming into the new year and we want to lose weight, well, maybe that's been one of those things that we've done every year and not succeeded. Well, the subconscious mind remembers all that. And as such, if you failed enough times, the subconscious mind is not going to let you succeed, because it doesn't want to embarrass you with another failure. So as such, now you're in a predicament because this is what you want, but you can't get there because your subconscious mind will not allow it to happen. So you have to kind of turn the tables on the subconscious mind, get it in an environment that it doesn't have any past history. So let's say that I really want to eat healthy this year. I want to concentrate on nutrition more than anything else. Now, this is an area that the brain has no experience and can't help you, can't hurt you. And you now at least have a level playing field. As before, there was no playing field because everything was blocked. It was a big brick wall because you were not going to get through there to the other side. That makes sense?
It sure does. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I understand that you also love to cook and you have a special meal that we'd like to hear more about.
Yes, I buy all the food. I cook it. I prep it. I clean up. I'm my wife truly. I mean, she cooks. She does all that stuff, but I love to do it. So I cooked what 4 pounds of bacon last night. Uh, anyway, I
I
just
don't see you eating bacon. Wow, that's a surprise to me.
organic bacon. No
Okay.
nitrates, no preservatives. I try to buy everything that has nothing added other than what's there. So it's an uncured bacon. And again, in moderation, it's not like I'm sitting there. But now I have a big bag of bacon. If I want to have a couple pieces of bacon, I don't have to fix it. I just take it out of the bag, put it on the skillet, and warm it up a little bit. But one of the meals that I really enjoyed from the Orient and I found in Europe when I was living over there is a thing called salmon pasta. And it's actually salmon flakes, large flakes of salmon mixed in with a salmon colored sauce. And over there, I can find it, in Japan or Korea. It's everywhere. In Germany, it's everywhere. And I find it in Italy, but I can't find it in the United States. So I'm forced to make it myself. I usually get a pound, pound and a half of salmon, and I prepare it a certain way, minimize the pepper and other stuff on it so that I have as clean a looking salmon as I possibly can get. Then I take and I flake the salmon. The big flakes become the meatballs. The other half I take with a hand blender and I mix it with an Alfredo sauce, either a homemade Alfredo sauce or something out of a jar or can. And then I blend that until I get a salmon colored, salmon tasting pasta sauce. And that sauce or gravy, whatever part of the country you're in, now goes on top of my pasta with my salmon flakes in there, all a lot of them, and then my salmon sauce over the top, a little bit of Parmesan. And so now I have a salmon spaghetti. So if you like the taste of salmon, that becomes an excellent option. Now, I will warn you that even if you put a half amount of that on a small salad plate, it's extremely rich. You may not finish it because it is. I mean, it's not something you want to chow down a big plate of because it's going to get your attention pretty fast. But if you like salmon and you're looking for an option, that is one thing that I really enjoy doing. I found a way to cook cod loin the other day that I thought was just absolutely. I mean, you dust it with a little bit of flour, but then you put an egg wash all over the outside of the cod loin, and then you put it in the skillet and you just let it sit there. Don't move it. And after a couple of minutes, now you turn it over and you add some butter, and then you start basting the other side as the side that was cooked, and the other side remains down for about 5 or 6 minutes. And that egg mixture causes the entire outside to seal, and so all of the juices remain inside. And you kind of see this thing plump up a little bit, and it's some of the most juicy, tender fish, white flaky fish that you've ever tasted in your life. But you would never expect to put egg wash on the outside of fish and then cook it in a dry pan. So anyway, yes, I love to cook. I really do. I also
And
like to
salmon
bake
is my
too.
favorite.
Yeah, Black Forest. I'd like to do a cherry Black Forest cake. Sometimes I do a Merlot chocolate sauce to put on it. I mean, it's just a lot of different ways of going, but it's just one of those things I really and truly enjoy doing. Uh, and the other part, I enjoy the actual cleanup. I got that from my father-in-law way back when. He would, after dinner, the first thing he'd do is everything goes in the kitchen, and he'd be there for 30 minutes or longer cleaning. And I come in and no, got it. And it wasn't until literally years and years later that I said, if I'm going to buy the food, prep the food, cook the food, I'm still responsible for cleaning up and putting everything away. So that's what I do. It just, if you're going to cook, you got to do the whole thing. So that's part of the habit. It's just not the cooking; it's the entire package: the buying, the prepping, the cooking, and the cleanup.
Got to say bravo to that. I love a man who cleans up as well. That's fantastic. And Red, you also have 5 degrees. Tell us
I
more
do.
about this.
As I said, my first love is chemistry. I got my degree in chemistry, math and physics minor. However, I got this invitation that says you're invited to Vietnam. And so I went. I joined the Navy. I became an aviator like my dad. My dad was a pilot from World War II. And so I went to Vietnam. By the time I came back, being able to work in the chemistry field, taking years off, was impossible. So I went to work for a company called National Semiconductor. And my boss there really didn't concentrate on my education. But during one of the downturns in the semiconductor business, I went to work for Memorex. And my boss there says, okay, here are 3 classes I want you to take over the next year. And I said, okay. So I took them all at one time. And that was the same place where I started teaching at night. And that's at DN's. I got an AA degree in quality control. And I ended up in a lot of different areas of that. But the benefit for me was when I was working on my master's at University of Southern California, I was teaching statistics at night while going to master's program. So I got a master's degree from USC, and that was in systems management. I had started that degree actually in Hawaii, but we got called back on a deployment overseas, and I got out of cycle from taking classes. And then it came time. Okay, I've been in California long enough. I want to get back to Texas. So things worked out. Boom, I'm back in Texas. I'm here. I'm happy. I still have a little bit of money on my GI Bill. So now I'm going my 3rd degree on my GI Bill. I got my AA, got my MSSM. Now I'm going to work on a doctorate in international business. And so I signed up there and started going. And every day going home from work, it was just turning that car to get off the freeway to go to the school was a terrible drudgery. I mean, working all day long, and the last thing I want to do is go spend 4 hours at night. But as soon as I make that turn, it was fine. But I tried pretty much to just stay. I'm going to take one day a semester. If I need to take a break, I'm going to take it. And it's got to be something really important. Now, a lot of times my flight crew, we maybe go off to the Azores or off to Bermuda or off to Puerto Rico for a weekend. And we may need to leave on a Thursday night so that we get a chance to, or maybe for Spain. Thursday was usually reserved for going to Spain for a weekend. And so I go to those. And so I said, okay, fine, I'm going to give up a night of class to go to Spain. And so I had to be very deliberate. But when I was working on that particular one, now all of a sudden, the company I was working for, Halliburton, says, it's been really nice having you here, but we're in a downturn. I was hired on. I had 24 people. I brought it up to 50. When they let me go, I was down to 3. So now I had 2 classes and a dissertation to finish, and now I'm starting to look for a job. And I actually ended up leaving Houston and moving to New Orleans. I had more than enough credits for an MBA. So I actually came back, my family showed up, and I walked on the stage to get an MBA. And then years later, I tried to finish that doctorate, and I couldn't get University of Houston interested at all. That's another story. And then while I was in the Navy, one of the other opportunities that came up was Naval War College. And I had started taking some classes in New Orleans and finally ended up in Newport, Rhode Island, where I was actually able to finish that particular degree. And so those are the 5 degrees that I have, all in different subjects. I've only met one person who has more, and they're all in the same subject or variations of that. But I'm the first person in my grandfather actually, I think, went to Cornell working on an electrical engineering degree, but never finished. World War I happened, and he had some issues and never finished that one. My dad got a GED after 10 years in the military. My mom just went to high school. So for all practical purposes, I'm the first one in my family. And ironically, my son has 5 degrees also. My daughter has 1. My wife has 1. So.
Wow, what a story. Congratulations. And you hit on something that I think is really important. If you're going, at least in my experience, if I had stopped doing my master's or my doctorate, I don't think I ever would have gone back because there's so many distractions, and to get yourself back into that mindset again really takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice and focus.
What you're doing it, and you're doing it, it's not too bad. But if you start enjoying too many weekends in Spain, you don't want to go back. So yes, that's why it was so hard to just. I wanted to not turn, but I turned that car and get off the exit ramp, and I go. Once I got to the school, I was fine. But it was that journey to get to the school. But once I parked the car and I got in the classroom, I was fine for a couple, 3 classes, whatever it was I was taking that night. But it was. I don't want to go tonight, but I gotta go. So, get off. Okay, I'm off the freeway. I gotta go now. It wasn't too bad, but it was just that 5 minutes that I was agonizing going home, and do I really want to go tonight? I don't feel like it. Got to do it. Got to do it. Got to do it. And I did. Yeah.
Well, that's how life is, isn't it? That it's the
It
journey. Sometimes feels like it's painful, but we have to go through it to get to the other side, which in your case is a degree, 5 degrees. And you also have a number of professional certifications. Tell us about them, Red.
Well, as part of being in the quality assurance field, I'm a certified quality engineer, certified quality manager. Uh, One of my specialties, because of my experience with statistics, is reliability engineering. And reliability actually has three different phases. The reliability is one, you have availability and maintainability. And I didn't have enough experience to take the reliability certification early on. But as soon as I did have enough work experience, then I took it. And my philosophy has always been take the exam, figure out what's on it, and then use that to study. I've screwed up too many times and passed the exam the first time out of the bag and never got a chance to. Okay. So then I started saying, okay, I got a pretty good memory. I start making notes. Okay. I get done. Boom, boom. Okay. About 30 questions on this field, 20 questions on this one. And so now if I ever had to redo things again, I'd kind of have something to study from. I went to a 2-week military resort down in, actually, it's a reunion down in Mexico, and I'm taking all my reliability engineering books down there to study because they changed the test from reliability focus to an availability focus, which is another aspect of reliability engineering. And so I'm down there, and it's the same equations, but it's a different way of working them. So everybody else is out on the beach, and I'm stuck there in the room, but it was worthwhile because I was able to go there, take the test, and boom. But the absolute hardest certification I have is a certified professional logistician. That is an 8-hour exam. It's on 4 different areas from the very design work, which my engineering and my statistics and all that stuff helped, into manufacturing, into retirement, into transportation and logistics. A lot of people might have the logistics background and never have the design. They may have the manufacturing and something else. It's a very difficult one. I think at the time I passed it, I was only the 3rd person in Houston area, 5 million people that actually had that certification. It's a kind of a rare one. But it took me, I'm going to say 5 times taking that exam because my experience was not in logistics and transportation. I'd get my results back and I'd have a 71 and 73 is passing. The next time I'd have a 75 and 76 is passing. Then I'd have a 73 and 76 is passing. And then I finally, when you get past, they don't tell you what the passing is. But I was tenacious enough to keep taking it and studying primarily the logistics ends of things. That is something I've never been in, but it's something that I had to become an expert in order to pass that particular certification. But that's probably the one I'm most proud of. That and the taproot. The taproot one is probably why I research the body at the human level, because I want to know why this thing, if you're going to have brittle bone later in life, what happened? Well, you had osteoporosis. Well, what caused that? Well, prior to that, you had osteopenia. Well, prior to that, there's something else happened. And if you're not keeping your blood pH a certain level, then it's extracting calcium from the bones, which leads to osteopenia. Well, how do you get calcium into the bones? Well, that's one problem. Keeping it in the bones is another problem. And most of the time, okay, I'm taking my calcium, but we don't necessarily look at the other end, what's causing it to leave the bones. And so those are the things that when you're looking at the big equation, you have to look at both ends of the equation and solve each of them.
Logistics is another one that I was running from through the streets screaming, "Ah!" You're obviously extremely intelligent and very disciplined and structured. And when I was reviewing information about you, I thought it was fascinating. There's something that you like about the heat, and you were able to stay in a sauna for how long?
Well,
212 degrees?
in the United States, they don't have very hot saunas, maybe 160. But I love hot, flat, and humid. Now, what does that mean? Hot, 100 degrees, 80 at night, humid as much as you can possibly give me. I love to sweat. But flat. I think of flat when you look out and the highest thing in sight's a curb. That is flat. And so if I get those three, I'm a really happy camper. But over in Germany, they have this thing called a mineral therme. It's a spa. And you go into it, and the only thing you wear is a smile. That's it. That's the German culture. And so the first time you show up over there, it's kind of a culture shock. But one of the things that I do like about it is they have different levels of saunas. They'll have a meditation sauna maybe at 150 degrees, but they'll have their basic saunas at 212 degrees. They have this thing called an Aufguss. And the Aufguss is you have this, maybe a room that's 20 feet by 20 feet, different levels, maybe 3, 4, 5 levels high. And people sitting around in a U-shaped form. And somebody will come in and they'll pour this scented slurry of material, even sometimes ice, on the coals, and then you get this big steam event coming up in front of you. Well, they go around, and one of the things they do is they wave this towel to get the steam from the top down to the bottom so that everybody's getting a chance to enjoy that extra superheated steam that's in the room. And then they'll take this towel and they'll snap it in front of you back and forth. And everybody goes to have their arms and their legs just spread apart so that they get the full impact of this superheated steam that's coming at them. And they'll go do this 3 or 4 times. Well, I'm sitting in this superheated deal, and I can generally spend 30 minutes easy. It's 212 degrees. Now they've added extra steam to the room to increase that comfort level in my case. And I said, I bet I could probably stay an hour in here. And I did 45 minutes several times. I said, okay, I know I can do an hour. And I find, okay, I'm up there 51 minutes. I got to leave. I can't handle it anymore. Okay, next time I'll do better. And I get it there, and I mean, not quite 51. And I'm over there. I'm doing this 3, 4, 5 times a week on the average, unless I'm out of town doing something. And so I got another 51 minutes, and I had to quit. I still want to do an hour at 212 degrees, but that is one of the things that I was able to do. Now, the other end of it is you're in 30 or 40 degree water, fully submerged. I couldn't handle the 30-degree water, 35, 39. The 45, I could maybe do 2 or 3 minutes fully submerged. But the 50 and 60, I think in the 60, 65, I could do half hour or more. But it took months to acclimate to get to that level. They have steam rooms. I love this one particular one. I mean, it's steamy as can be. And they have a light show and sound show, and just everything's going on. And you're in there for about 20 minutes in the steam room and just being entertained. But if you ever get a chance to go to Germany, yes, you may have to wear a smile and nothing else. But their saunas, their spas are an amazing cultural event that you really need to try out. It's almost like a Japanese massage. If you've never had somebody walk on your back, you really need to have that experience. I've been massages all over the world, and the Japanese massage is by far the best, in my opinion.
Well, you certainly have not been sitting idly watching television on a sofa. That is for sure. I don't know. I was with you the whole time with this experience until it sounds like whatever they were doing with that towel. It sounds like that hurts, doesn't it?
No, they're standing off 2 or 3 feet from you, and when they flip the towel, what they're doing is they're sending a wave of heated air at you.
Ah,
They're just sitting there static, nothing's happening. But all of a sudden you get this, it's like 20-mile-an-hour breeze that's instantaneously hot and humid, and it's compacted against your body. And the first couple times you get it, but after a while, give me more, give me more, give me more. And so it's interesting because everybody, they put their hands up and they spread their legs and they're just, give me the full amount you can possibly give me. And so it's crazy. And then you get sometimes when you're in a really small sauna in a smaller spa area, and somebody in the audience will go down there and pull the towel up and start doing that for everybody, as opposed to one of the employees that comes in. And it's just an interesting experience in life.
I like the idea of the lights and the sound show. That sounds pretty
Oh,
cool.
that they'd start out with theme from a summer place, and they would start that, and the lights would go with the music and the steam. Now it makes the light show even more because you can't see. I mean, literally, if I had to try to see my hands in front of my face, I could make them out, but I couldn't make them out clearly. But that steam room, again, 3 different levels, and just a marvelous place to be. It met my criteria for hot and humid.
I'm a big fan of hot and humid as well, and I couldn't have done any time in cold water. I'm not a cold
It
person.
took
I don't
me
like cold weather.
it took me months, but on the outside in the wintertime, I would walk out and there'd be snow on the benches or on the ground, and I would walk around outside. I would have shoes on or slippers, uh, but I would walk around just to cool off. It'd be 25 degrees, 30 degrees, whatever outside with the snow. And sometimes it'd actually be snowing when I'd walk outside. But it's one of those things. They had an ice room. I think it was down around 0 degrees or whatever, with a little bit of a breeze, and you could walk in that for a short period of time. But again, your body doesn't take it immediately. You have to acclimate to it. I mean, it took me months to get more than just my knees into the cold water. Then all of a sudden I get down to my waist, and I get down to my shoulders, and I get my whole head underwater. But again, I could take an hour at 212 degrees, go over and do, 4 or 5 minutes in a cold dip, come back, and I'm good for another hour. Uh, and another hour and another hour. It's like a light switch. You're drained, the switch is off, and then all of a sudden they turn the light switch on. Oh, I'm ready to go again. And a lot of fluid. I do generally about a liter, at least a liter, uh, an hour while I'm in the sauna. It's just constantly drinking.
Hmm. Quite a fascinating background that you have, and I know there's a lot more to it. But in the last few minutes of our show, I'd love for you to share with our audience, in addition to everything you shared and the fact that you're a co-host here at USA Global TV, you're also a talking head and an elevated listener. So would you share more about that with our audience?
Well, I think most of us believe we know how to listen, but in the course that I took with Dr. Jacalyn, she nailed it on the head. We are already anticipating our answer to somebody else's diatribe or whatever may be coming out. We may not disagree. We want to be able to tell them where they're wrong. But if you want to be an effective listener, you have to almost be able to repeat back to them what they said, because you understand it well enough. Okay, I truly understand where you're coming from. And so from that perspective, listening now it's a new art form, because it's not, oh yeah, I hear it. Hearing and listening are not necessarily synonymous. It's a spoken word, but is it actually penetrating into the brain, and having the respect for the other person, giving them that time to finish their particular train of thought, so that now, if I'm going to come up, yeah, I may miss out something I thought about way back when, but it's really important. No, it's important to respect the other person, but more important, okay, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes I may not agree. Sometimes I may totally agree. Sometimes that's interesting. I didn't know that. And so it's a learning process, and I love to learn, continually learning. And so from that uh, listening, elevated listening, very apt to elevated listening, very great program. And I truly recommend it to everybody. It's, even if you've been a listener for all your life, you're going to pick up and the little sessions they have in there with this person and this person going back and forth. Well, we're observing a sequence of events. It's a show, and then we're saying, well, what did that person do wrong? What did this person do right? And that way, you're cementing in your mind, you're reinforcing the things that are doing there. On the talking heads, my focus, my real business is helping people with their books, but my love of my life is delving into the human body. So I'm going to start talking about longevity, age-related diseases, disease in general. What can we do to make ourselves healthy, especially in the post-pandemic world? Health is going to be a major part of our life from now on, once we get rid of this virus. And I'm not sure how totally rid of we're going to be, but that's going to be my focus. We're going to start out with, what causes you to age? What can you do about it? Can you accelerate something or decelerate something? Make sure you understand which path you want to be on. Then we'll start talking about how disease starts in the body and goes through. And we'll talk about Alzheimer's and other things that, as you start getting up in age, they become very, very important. We don't want that. And so that's my focus on the talking heads, is health and wellness, primarily in the longevity field.
And you are going to do us proud. I know that for for sure, because you are truly so knowledgeable, so passionate, and you're a great presenter as well. You're also a Toastmaster.
I am. I am a distinguished Toastmaster. It took me about 4 years. A friend of mine and I were back and forth of who was leading each other, and then became a competition. And the competition actually helped us probably get it done 6 months earlier, because he'd be two segments ahead of me, and then I'd catch up with him, get ahead. And it was just back and forth, back and forth. And so that competition can lead to a lot of goodness in your life. And just don't be afraid of somebody who's better than you. Learn from them. If I'm hiring somebody, I want somebody better in that field than I am, because I want somebody to relieve me down the road so I can get out and become better. But competition is great, and it really helped me tremendously in my distinguished Toastmaster path.
It's absolutely apparent that it's a worthwhile thing for a person to do, to become a Toastmaster. And especially if you have, I'm assuming it's Hyatt, Mr. Hyatt Ives.
Yes. Hyatt is
Yes,
also a distinguished Toastmaster.
the two of you competing against one another. Absolutely love it. Red, one thing I'd like to bring up before we leave for today, and of course it's a little bit of a selfish plug, but I'm also plugging you as well, is the new book that's coming out. And again, thank you to Daphne DeLucci from Brand Clever, Roar Media Creative for this fabulous book cover. And the book is Adversity to Awesome. And Red and I have been working on it for a while. We're actually going to be launching it on April the 4th. So tell us what this is about based on working with me.
Dr. Jacalyn's first book is behind the green screen, because you see behind us we have green screens. She's in media where it demands not only a pretty face, but also a non-distractive background that people are just not paying attention to what people are saying. And so when you have a green screen, it kind of keeps everything static behind you. The next move down the road was, well, in COVID, we're all wearing these masks. And so why not keep the theme the same, behind the mask? Well, when we have masks and we wear them, Mardi Gras mask, it doesn't matter. We're hiding something that we don't want people to see. It might be a scar. It might be an emotional event in our life. It doesn't matter what it is. Something happened and we tend to put a mask on. Well, in the process of developing these things, getting people interviewed, developing the story, the focus of having behind the mask didn't quite seem appropriate anymore. And now all of a sudden we have some amazing, awesome stories of people who had unbelievable things happen to them early in life or in midlife crisis, and they found a solution. It may not have been the first solution, but they found a way to come out of that and thrive. And that's why we're talking about these inspiring stories that people want to share, because I was there. It wasn't nice, but in some cases, I got to fight this every single day, because if I don't, it's almost like being an alcohol addict. You're going to creep back, and you have to really protect yourself. But I'm enjoying a good life now. I'm getting better every day. And these are the stories in Dr. Jacalyn's second book that are going to come out and just be mind blowing to you. At how could somebody with that thing happening have the wherewithal to figure out that there was a better place, and they actually got to it and they thrived in that better place.
Thank you, Red. And I really appreciate the people who shared their stories. They were so candid. I interviewed them, and with Red's help, we're able to take the interviews and form it into a book that I think will be really fascinating for people. The stories are true stories. They include being imprisoned, addiction, sex trafficking, all kinds of things, that being homeless, that are major experiences people have in their lives. And some people never recover from things like that. But in the case of this book, the people who shared their stories, they've all become really awesome. So that's why we wrote this. We wrote the book and are getting it published. Thanks to Red.
Let me add one more thing very quickly. Dr. Jacalyn is an outstanding listener, and as such, as she's listening to these people tell their stories, she interjects a question at the appropriate time to dig deeper into what is going on. It's kind of like well, why did that happen? Well, can you tell me more about that? And as such, sometimes maybe these people didn't want to share that level of detail, but they felt comfortable enough to do it. And as such, because of Dr. Jacalyn's ability to listen, ability to, okay, this is really what the audience needs to hear. This is where we're going to gain some real value from this interview. And that's where she shines in that particular one. So now we're taking that product and putting it into a book to share with everyone.
Thank you, Red. Very well said. Appreciate that. And as I mentioned, the book's coming out April the 4th, and soon you'll be able to pre-order it. Red and I will let you know more about that. So Red, I'm going to spotlight you again and put up your information. But for people who are listening on the radio as well, what's the best way for people to reach you, and who should reach out to you about what?
I speak on health and wellness all the time. I spoke yesterday on how to prepare for 2022 for your own personal health. I was at a Chamber of Commerce event. So if you need a speaker, whether it's on Zoom, StreamYard, whatever, I'm more than happy to handle that. My website, red.o'laughlin.com, that's R-E-D, like my color to my hair, red. O'Laughlin, that's O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N, red, red.o'laughlin.com. Again, red.o'laughlin@gmail.com is one easy way to reach me by email. My phone number is 281-687-1188. 281-687-1188. And I do answer the phone. Give me a call. More than happy to answer questions about books in particular. But if you have a question about speaking in public, you have a question about writing a book, you have a question about publishing a book, please email me, contact me. I have about 1,300 blogs on actually more than that, on my website, mostly on health and wellness. And so those are things. I have on my LinkedIn, I think I'm just under 950 original content articles I've written on LinkedIn. So that's another place. I'm on Facebook, both as Red O'Laughlin and Red O'Laughlin author. So those are easy ways to contact me.
Thank you very much, Red. And for anyone who'd like to be a guest on this show or any of our shows here at USA Global TV, please do go over to our website, which is usaglobaltv.com, and book your session. Also, we'd appreciate it if you would go to our YouTube channel. We keep all of our shows organized in playlists, so it makes it very easy to find. Each show has a different episode number. And what do you think that YouTube channel is? That's right, USA Global TV. So you can find us easily. So thank you again. Red and I will be back next week. And Red, when are you starting your Talking Heads? I don't recall exactly.
I think Monday, this coming Monday. I can't remember the exact time. I think it's around noon, 1 o'clock. But Monday, I believe it's the first of 6 sessions on health and wellness, primarily concentrating on longevity and how to make ourselves more. We don't want somebody changing our diaper the last 5 years of our life. We want a good quality of life as we get to the end of our life. We don't want our minds going where somebody else has to take care of us and we can't recognize those people. So those are the things that I will be talking about.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure seeing you today and learning more about Red O'Laughlin. You certainly are a man of mystery. Mystery solved now that we know more.
As now we know more about the doctor and Dr. Jacalyn. So
absolutely. And you know what? I actually have right here, because I look at it every day because it costs me so much money. It means so much to me. I actually have my doctor right here. So it's official. So thank you for asking me about that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I look forward to our next venture down this road of the wise ones.
I do too. Thank you, Red. See you again soon.
Bye now.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for watching, whether you're on the live or on the replay. We know people are busy and it's hard to always listen and learn and watch while we live stream. But as I mentioned, everything is organized in playlists on our YouTube channel, USA Global TV. Yes. And so I wanted to share with all of you that my personal website is also being rebranded and will launch later this week. That's drjacalyn.com. And what can you expect to find there? You can expect to find all the services and the ways that I help people as a professional and certified coach, as the listening mentor, and in various other courses that I offer. So I'll make more announcements about that coming soon. All right, everyone. Thanks again. That's a wrap for today. Really appreciate you, Red, learning so much about you. And thank you to our audience as always. And again, thank you to our team and to the unsung hero, Daphne DeLucci, and her partner, Stephen Gillen. Bye-bye, everyone.